Oh, the damn investors. Which ones, you asked? I'm so glad that you did. So just when you thought the government couldn't sink to a new low or sell their souls out even more than they have, we were wrong. Investors and mega companies are getting billions of dollars worth of low interest rate loans, and they're using these loans, you guessed it, to swoop in and buy mobile home parks so that they can raise the cost of rents on the people who live in these parks, and in some cases evict them and push them out of their home. And mobile home parks tend to be some of the most affordable places to live, but not if you let these rotten investors in to take away this opportunity for people to live. And so housing advocates are saying it's just a disturbing trend that's happening across the country. Now let's put up a graphic from NPR, and it reads, a generation of mom and pop owners of mobile home parks are retiring and looking to sell. And investors and companies are swooping in to buy up these parks. They raise fees and rents for the land under the homes and evict people who can't pay. This trend is definitely hurting homeowners. And data shows that families living in mobile homes make around just $32,000 a year. And one situation in particular, Cenk, includes a woman named Mary Hunt. And let's put up this graphic again from NPR. Money is tight for Mary Hunt. She often has to decide which bills to pay on time. Heat, her car loan, the phone bill. But she's been able to scrape by for more than 30 years, living in a mobile home park in Swartz Creek, Michigan. So It's really a damn shame.
So I want to give a little bit more context too. So a lot of these folks own their trailer. They've already paid for it, but they got to put their trailer that they paid for on some piece of land. And so they got to pay a smaller fee for the land than if they rented out a house or an apartment, right? But it's still a fee, and it could get up there, and it's obviously, for example, the woman that Nina mentioned makes $10 an hour driving folks around, right? Driving the elderly around. So even a $400 rent for the land that she put the trailer on is sometimes hard to come by. So then that leads to the second juxtaposition that I want you guys to understand. So you might think, well, I mean, she had a landlord before, she now has a corporate landlord, what's the difference? Well, there's a giant difference, because when she ran into trouble before, her landlords were actually human beings who lived in that neighborhood. And so she would say, hey, listen, I got half of it, but I'm gonna get a couple more jobs in the next couple of days and then give you the other half. And they were humans, and they would listen to that, and that would happen apparently sometimes, fairly regularly, not all the time, but she would always pay. But a giant corporation, and I need to clarify this, they're not immoral, they're amoral. They have no morals at all, because they are not human. Corporation is a profit maximizing machine. So, and they're in New York or wherever they are, right? They're not gonna come down to your trailer and tell you, oh yeah, it's okay, only pay half and I'll get the other half in a couple of days. No, they're gonna crush you, and then they're gonna charge more rent to the next person. And by the way, they could just take your stuff in the trailer, because moving the trailer costs like $5,000. If you don't have $400 for the rent, you don't have $5,000 to move your trailer, and then everything you have you could lose. And they're gonna do it because it's gonna maximize profit. Let's not kid ourselves. The minute you hand it off to the corporations, you're gonna get no mercy at all about anything.
That's so true. And these the loans that they get from the federal government, here's the point, how the government is complicit in this. Also in some of that reporting, Cenk, a lot of these communities are trying to form co-ops, if you will, so that the community themselves can own the parks, own the land. But it's harder for them to get loans than it is for these investors to get these loans and actually ravage these people who are already living on tight budgets to begin with. So the government is very much complicit. When we think about how to use the power, take the power, I'm so glad that we are covering this story. We got to continue to shine light on these issues. I get text messages all the time. The same kind of thing is happening in the Black community as well. When you think about investors coming in and gobbling up properties and how they treat people, pushing out people who are the folks who generationally have been living there, whether it was their parents or their grandparents or their grandparents' parents living in the community. And when you get investors coming in, they do not have the same respect and reverence for the community, the texture of the community, and also the needs of the community. And to see that this kind of stuff is happening in some of these trailer parks and that the government itself is helping this to happen makes absolutely no sense. So we need to bring more attention to this issue, to our elected officials, particularly on the federal level. Freddie Mae and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac should not be helping investors, predators, take away land from people who live in these trailer parks. And they should put forth programming that incentivize the creation of co-ops, Cenk. That would be beautiful.
Yeah, I just, look, sometimes in running companies, I'm a little skeptical about co-ops, but my God, sometimes co-ops are wonderful. And in this case, it's amazing that they're putting together these co-ops to buy these trailer parks so that the corporations don't buy them. And sometimes in the laws in different states, unfortunately, it's not in every state, but in some of the states, they say that the residents have a right of first refusal. So if the landowner is going to sell it to a corporation, they've agreed on a price, they could put together a co-op to go buy that, right? But so the wonderful folks putting those co-ops together are doing God's work and helping fellow American citizens. And that way, and this is a place where co-op makes a ton of sense, because of course you could pool your money together, and then that way you'll have more reasonable rent, et cetera, right? And it's your land, and you won't worry about who the next landlord is. I mean, I just love it, right? But here's how the government screws us. They're giving the giant investors incredibly low interest rates, which makes this more profitable. When the co-op asks for the same interest rate, they say no. Oh, come on. And so that's how you know the system is rigged. When we talk about a rigged system, this is how they rig it against the average American and in favor of giant investors. And why? Because those giant investors are, as Nina would put it, they're owner donors.
Yeah, that's it. And this really goes against the mission of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac too, Cenk. I mean, forget about what the mission of those two organizations are. This really flies in the face of that mission. And something can be done about it, though. This does not, just because this is the reality today, doesn't mean it has to be the reality tomorrow. This is definitely an area that can be fixed by the administration. They need to do it. Fix this right now. No excuses.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Couple more member comments, and then we'll go on to the very tough "What would Nina do" this week. So in Hacks wrote in co-ops exactly, Nina. So Grogu's backup caretaker says something a little controversial in your neck of the woods. So apparently Marcia Fudge isn't doing much. Now, the article didn't talk about her. We don't know, okay?
No, we don't know.
We don't know, but I do know that these are rules that have been around for a long time. And Nina's right about Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and what their original intent was. And right now, what they're doing is the exact opposite of what they were set up to do. Don't shoot him. The goalkeeper writes, raising rent and fees on trailer parks now. I'm starting to think that real estate investors and the people who fund them won't be happy until everyone's living on the streets. Well, you see,
pretty much.
Guys, there's some strategy behind that too. It depends on the situation. Sometimes they just want, let me break it down real quick for you guys from a business perspective. And business is inevitable, okay? So what I mean by that is, if they can make more money, they will definitely do it. They are amoral machines. Beseeching corporations is nonsensical, right? You have to check them with government. That's what I call democratic capitalism, okay? But anyways, if they raise the rent by 10 or 20%, the valuation of the property goes up by 10 or 20%. They take the extra valuation and use it as leverage and credit to get another loan to buy another property, where they then raise it by another 10 or 20% or higher, and then they take the extra valuation from that and get another loan and buy another property, and they get larger and larger and larger. And by the way, if they bankrupt enough for you guys and then there's not enough people to rent it at those prices, it's okay because then they wipe away the whole trailer home and sell it and turn it into a strip mall where they make even more money. So either way, whether you have a home or you're homeless, they still make more money. That's what the government's supposed to protect you against, but we lost our democracy, we lost our government because we allow legalized bribery. And that's how they get away with these kind of crimes.
That's right. And Cenk, I'm gonna add another layer to what you're saying. When we think of government like the referee, especially with this story that we're talking about, the government is supposed to call the fouls. The corporations in this case have committed fouls, many of them, and the government has to call them and then reset the game in a way that side, the corporate team, doesn't have more power or squashes the non-corporate team, the community team. But the government is not calling the fouls because the government is complicit and very much is the sixth man on the court for the corporate team. And in lies simply what the problem. That's the problem. That's the problem.
Exactly right. And if you don't have referees calling the fouls, Jordan's going to get fouled on every play, and the people who are going to win are the people who commit the most fouls. That's obvious to anyone who watches sports, right? And you guys, everybody talks about cops. The right wing does, we need more cops. Well, you need more cops on Wall Street along with Main Street. Otherwise, to your guys' point, the robbers are going to rob the place blind, right? You want to talk about looting? The people who do it most is Wall Street. So let's get some cops up in there.
Yes.
All right.
Go ahead.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat, emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.